Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Moving right along, getting ready for Week 6. Eagles Game 5 in Week 6 here, just coming off their bye week, taking on the Cleveland Browns at home this week. The lowly Cleveland Browns, they traded away, what did they trade away? 5 draft picks to pick up Deshaun Watson.
Lowly, yeah, that was a
3
mistake.
first rounders at 22, at 23, and at 24. I got it on the screen right now. 5 years, $230 million fully guaranteed. A $72.9 million cap hit and a $172 million dead cap. And they can't win a ball game. They look putrid. So the Eagles should take advantage of that Browns team that just does not look good. We'll see how that game goes. John, I want to talk to you about the NFC East. So far, the NFC East is now looking a little bit, I don't want to say NFC beast, but they're not looking like the NFC least. You look at the back end of the schedule coming into the year, and everyone's like, oh, you have the Giants and the Commanders, 2 of the last 3 games. That's easy. I don't think any game with the NFC East is going to be easy this year. How are you viewing the NFC East right now, and do you still think the Eagles are the top dog in the NFC East?
Probably. I don't think the NFC East is the NFC Beast, though. I think that's the NFC North.
Yeah, they're not quite the NFC Beast.
I don't think the Giants are very good. Hat tip to beating Seattle on the road, but this is the NFL, and that doesn't mean they don't have good players. They do. And everybody, that's when he said there's no gimme games. They didn't beat the Giants last year when they were terrible.
With who was the quarterback last year for that game?
Well, they lost A.J. Brown. That's the reason they lost A.J. Brown.
What was the quarterback's name, John, that beat us? Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito. That's right. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I had to think about it. AJ went out in the first. AJ got hurt in the first quarter of that game, and they couldn't do anything. And then they went to the playoffs with that. AJ couldn't do anything, and haven't been able to do anything for the most part. It's pathetic the way this team handles that particular player not on the field. But yeah, and Dallas is clearly not as good. Dallas has won, 12 games, 3 consecutive years? I mean, they've been very good and just, not lived up to expectations in the playoffs. They're no longer that team. So they've gotten worse. And then Washington is the outlier. They've gotten significantly better. So how good, how legitimate is Washington? I think we're having an RG3 rookie situation. I think they are legitimate. I think they are going to be a playoff contender. But again, it's very early. I could be overstepping my bounds because I like the player, but boy, he's tough to deal with. So in a lot of ways, I don't think it's as good as people think it is right now. And that's partially the Eagles too, because I think the Eagles are overrated. I think the Cowboys are overrated. I think the Giants stink. And I think possibly Washington could be good. That's where I think the NFC East is.
I think that Washington team is legit, as you point out. I mean, we'll see how they continue to get better. I don't know, John. I mean, I don't want to say it, but right now I think the Eagles are the 3rd best team in the NFC East.
I still think they're number 2 right now behind Washington. I assume you mean Dallas. Dallas is not playing well.
And they're not that good, but Dallas has this weird ability to win games. It's just regular season games. It's never playoff games. It hasn't been in 30 years, but they always seem to win a lot of games in the regular season. They always seem to put up a good fight versus the Eagles.
They were good. They were good. They were good. That's why they won a bunch of games, because they were good. They just didn't live up to it in the playoffs, but they were good and they were talented and they had a bunch of good players. The offense has, it's basically CD Lamb or bust. A little bit of Ferguson, who's a pretty good tight end. The running game is, when they had Tony Pollard, not a big name, but very effective, Before that, Ezekiel Elliott at the prime of his career was obviously very good. He's no longer anything near close to that. They had complementary receivers as well. Always have good tight ends. Always had a good offensive line. The offensive line's not as good as it used to be. As I mentioned, they don't have the complementary receivers. The running game isn't there on a consistent basis. Not the same team. Defensively, they don't even have Micah right now. DeMarcus Lawrence is on IR. I think they got a schedule break because they got to deal with Justin Fields, who still stinks.
Yeah.
And that limits Pittsburgh offensively, so that helped Dallas. I think people say, oh, maybe they're starting now. They were just playing a really bad quarterback that was limited. I'm down on Dallas, and I don't think they're better than the Eagles. Washington, very early, but they might be better than the Eagles.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they are.
Yeah, it is early. I mean, I don't know who Washington has beat. I mean, I know some of them. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but I don't think they've beat any major.
Well,
maybe the Ravens this week. That'll be a good test.
Yeah, and I expect
the Giants. No, they lost to the Bucks. They beat the Giants. They beat the Bengals. That's a good win for them. They throttled the Cardinals, and then they beat the Browns. So,
and by the way, I do think Baltimore will beat them. So, I mean, we'll see. But I do think it's pretty evident that Jaden Daniels is really tough to deal with. You to your point, their running game has been crazy because Brian Robinson's a pretty good player who's become better because of the +1 effect of Jaden Daniels. Still not in love with their receivers, but again, to your point, he's elevating people very early in his career. Olamide Zaccheaus being notable.
We clamored all offseason for a wide receiver 3. How about that guy?
Diami Brown. Who's that? He's making big plays down the field. Zach Ertz looks a little bit revitalized. Their offensive line doesn't look good on paper, but they got a bunch of guys who know how to play and who played, Super Bowl. Wiley's been in the Super Bowl. Allegretti's been in the Super Bowl. Tyler Biadasz has been a good player. Sam Cosmi's their one good offensive lineman. So they're okay. And then defensively, you know what they went out and did? They got Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu. Again, linebackers. Seems like everybody in this league values linebackers more than the Philadelphia Eagles. And Bobby's not, he's aging, but again, sort of like quarterback, he just knows how to play. And he's still wildly athletic. I don't know how he keeps it going at this stage. But he's going to the Hall of Fame. And he's right in the middle of that defense. And Frankie Luvu's another player who can make plays. And they overturned everything. 33 new players, 17 new starters. And nobody knows what to do with Jaden Daniels. I'm way more concerned with the Washington Commanders than the Dallas Cowboys. And maybe I'm overreacting to a small sample size, but that's where I am with the NFC East.
No, yeah, I think I don't think you're far off. I'm not saying the Cowboys are. Yeah, I don't think they're better than us. They scare me. They always do in the regular season, and we'll see how it all plays out. We got a super chat here from Sean Mims. Sean, thank you, brother. Why can't we wait? Why we can't wait till league get a book on Daniels just like they did Hurts? Let's see next year. Sean, we are going to see next year. This year, brother. We got to get through this year first. And
that's
right now,
why I bring up RG3. If you remember RG3's rookie season, nobody knew what to do with him. Yes, now he got hurt, but yes, when teams make adjustment, then it's going to be on Jaden Daniels. But that's not going to come in a substantive way until the off season. It's a copycat league, but it's a very slow moving copycat league.
You ever worry about that with Jalen Hurts, John?
Worry about what?
That the league has caught up to him, and that's why I asked about the pro style offense, because I wonder if the league has caught up to some of his style of play, and in order
definitely.
for
Well,
him to
they
continue to get
definitely.
better, he would need to evolve his game, add more to his repertoire, and evolve as a quarterback. And I don't know if I've seen that, which maybe isn't a knock, but maybe the league has just kind of figured out how to defend it.
I definitely think they have caught up, no doubt about it, and they're playing Jalen Hurts better, and the adjustments to that adjustment have not been made to a point where you have the same kind of success. Nick got a lot of criticism for not making those adjustments last year, and it had an interview with Jeff McMullen where he said early before the season started, it's not about evolving, it's about getting better at what you do. Just keep getting better and better and better and better at what you do well. And I think he was right. But the nature of this league is if you're not having success, you make change. And again, it's very, very, as to Vic Fangio's point, patience is not a virtue around. Forget about fans. It's not a virtue with organizations in this league. Very few people have the discipline to stay patient. And one of the reasons why is because they don't have the time to stay patient. So if something's not working, they immediately go and let's do something else. Jalen Hurts is not a traditional NFL quarterback. I'm talking about traditional play action, under center, old school pocket style core. That's not what he does well. So why do people want him to do more of it? It makes
to answer your question, is because I think people think it wins more.
No
Whether
quarterback,
right or wrong. That's the belief.
Well,
and they're not entirely wrong. I mean, look at the
they are entirely wrong from the standpoint of no quarterback has had more success than Jalen Hurts in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles from a winning percentage standpoint. Now, has that obviously you had the great spike from 2-5 in 2021 to 10-1 last season, which was the greatest stretch of football in Philadelphia Eagles history. And I think that's what Nick was talking about. Like, all right, people are going to adjust, sharpen it up, just keep improving on what you do well. And you're so good at it, you'll continue to stay ahead of the curve. I think he was right. We're past that now, though. And maybe that explains the deficiencies in Jalen Hurts' game, trying to get him to a level of, and by the way, you got to fight with the player as well. He wants this autonomy at the line of scrimmage. Maybe he shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
But this is all very delicate. But at the bottom line, coaching is.
What do you mean delicate? Nobody wants to talk about it, or what?
No, delicate in the way you have to handle it. Like, how do you tell the quarterback who wants autonomy, hey, guess what? You're not good at it. Let this guy who's good at it handle it. That's what I mean. No, I don't care if anybody.
Is Jalen getting coached hard enough? I mean, he always talked about that early in his career. I love hard coaching.
Yeah, I think he does because he comes from a coaching family.
Yeah, but
I think he does love hard coaching. Do people push back on him at what he doesn't do well? Probably not. But that's with every quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think there's tremendous pushback to Aaron Rodgers? He dismisses his own head coach.
Yeah, but
He waves them off like he's not even
I'm not ready to compare the two.
a human being. I'm just saying, I'm not comparing the two. I'm saying you see some of the, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady didn't like each other at the end. Why? With all due respect to Tom, Bill's trying to push him, and he's like, "I'm Tom freaking Brady." I got it, and he did for the most part. And I'm not trying to compare it, but I'm just trying to compare the relationships. Quarterbacks by nature. I mean, think about it, Zander. You are the guy, and everybody tells you how great you are, and you think you're not going to have an ego.
Yeah, it's true.
These guys got massive egos, and they don't want to be told what to do. And I guarantee you, the first thing Jalen Hurts should be told, let's let Cam Jurgens handle the protection issues. I wouldn't even have gone down that route, but he wants it. So how do you stop it? What you do is you bring in a new offensive coordinator, says, yeah, I'll let him have it. And now you see some of the issues. Now, I'm not saying that's the only issue. I'm not saying it even is an issue. But it hasn't looked great, and maybe it improves when AJ gets back, and obviously the talent's going to rise to the top, and they're going to win a lot of football games, and they're going to have a lot of big plays because they have better players. But when you're talking about the small margin of error about going to a Super Bowl or getting to that level, all that little stuff adds up and matters. And I know Nick Foles just retired. Like Nick Foles, people always said, and people were saying it to the end, why is Nick Foles so good on the Eagles and stinks everywhere else? And I don't think anybody can answer that, but I know Nick Foles says Kelsey was a big part of it because he didn't have to worry when he went to other players. He had to do that stuff other places, and he wasn't good at it, and he didn't have to worry about it here. And I'm not saying Cam Jurgens is at the level of Jason Kelsey, but I do know Jeff Stoutland talks about his football IQ and his ability, and he at least has the potential to be very good at it. And this is just one small piece of the puzzle I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, Jalen's so focused on this autonomy he's always wanted. It's like, worry about the other stuff, dude.
Right. Do you think that's part of the reason that, or that, I don't know, maybe is it something that you think is going wrong right now in the offense, that there's a learning curve on that's happening, that's slowing everything else down?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly when, again, I think AJ's absence has exposed a lot of things, and you're not going to elevate others when you're bogged down. All right, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this, instead of just stepping back and being the playmaker that you are and you once were and still could be. I think that explains a lot of it.
Yeah. I wonder if, and I'm not going to profess to be smart enough to know this answer, but I do wonder if a lot of the problems are coming from the pre-snap read, or are they the post-snap getting through your progressions quick enough to make it look like you made the right read pre-snap, if that makes sense?
Well, 90% of the league tries to hold off to tipping what they're going to do post-snap now. That's the Vic Fangio effect.
Right.
That's the whole thing. You want to show the same shell for the most part, and then spin off into whatever coverage. And the whole thought process behind that is, even if it's a snap, a split second, the quarterback has to sort of identify what's going on post snap, it makes it a little bit easier for the defense. That's the whole philosophy
Right.
behind it. And that's what every quarterback is dealing with, not just Jalen Hurts. And some people are better at it and some people don't, I talk about Aaron all the time. And he got picked sixth because he didn't see Van Ginkel dropping into coverage. And that dude has seen everything. And he got
two dudes that would have changed this season for the Eagles: Van Ginkel and Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've both been great. And certainly Vic had tremendous success with Van Ginkel in Miami last year. We all looked at that and said, oh, well, that's a player the Eagles should go after. And I know a lot of people, I don't think it was the case. I think he's from there. He's from either North Dakota, South Dakota, somewhere. But he was a Vikings fan. I think that was that. I think he wanted to go there. With McKinney, they wanted that player badly and just thought it got too high. But he's been great.
You agree with that?
No,
would you have done it if you were the GM?
I would have paid him if I could have got him. I would have paid him.
I agree, especially when you see it's easy to say now when you see the impact. But let's go to one more super chat.
But I've always said about McKinney. I remember back to the days of the Jalen Reagor game against the Giants, where he dropped 2 passes at the end of the game. Terrible game for the Eagles, but they had a chance to win it at the end. And there was this one play where, you know how people take the snapshots and so-and-so is wide open. And I'm like, that's Xavier McKinney back there, dude. You have no idea how quickly those openings close in the NFL.
Right.
And I was saying, and you're an Alabama guy, you should know about McKinney.
Yeah, McKinney, I mean, he was great in college, great now.
I'm like, that will close in a split second. And everybody, oh, he's wide open. I'm like, no, he's not. Not in the NFL. Yeah, he's been a good player for a long time now, McKinney.
Yeah, he's really good. One more super chat here from James Barber. James, thank you, brother. Appreciate your support today, my man. Appreciate everybody in the chat today. I always thought Jaden was deserving of number 1, but kept being told I was an SEC homer. James, me and you both get that a lot. But I think just like Jalen, Jaden is benefiting significantly from being unknown. He'll be the best 2024 drafted QB, but this year is an early blip. Fair point.
Well, obviously it's early, but I mean, the same thing happened. You know, he's so unique and so dynamic. People haven't seen that ability. And it's difficult. And that's why I said that's one of the things they will make adjustments, but generally it will not come until the off season. So it's going to be tough to deal with this year. That doesn't mean he's not going to have a bad game here and there, but he's going to keep making plays because it's pretty evident they don't know what to do with him. Now, generally, Vic Fangio is going to show up better against young quarterbacks than veteran quarterbacks who know what they're looking at. So maybe that helps the Eagles. Maybe it doesn't. My test for everybody is Flores. Everybody, if you got to play Flores, it's like you're seeing stuff you've never seen before. But the Eagles don't have to do that, at least till a potential playoff matchup. I do not believe Daniels has that test either. But yeah, so many defenses are the same now. But with rookie quarterbacks, it's always hit and miss. That's why you'll see Caleb Williams. It's 1 week it's great, 1 week it's awful. But Daniels seems to have a better sort of floor as a rookie quarterback. You're muted, Zander.
I'm excited to see those Eagles versus Commanders games this year to see how he looks, what Vic can do to a young player like that. I thought he was going to have his work cut out. I mean, he was going up against Cardinals. I thought JG would give him a good test. He destroyed them 42-14. They won. And then I thought Jim Schwartz would do all right with the Browns last week versus him, but he didn't do. I mean, he did okay. Jaden didn't look quite as good.
Jim shut him down compared to other teams. He had like an 85% completion percentage.
I know. Yeah. I think versus Gannon, he was at 85%. It was crazy number. So, he was 26 of 30 for 230 and a touchdown.
Jim kind of slowed him down.
Yeah, Jim slowed him a little bit.
Yeah, so he's just really good. And I'm concerned long term. Can his style of play be sustainable long term? He's going to get banged up. I mean,
well, that's where I'm wondering with Jalen.
Yeah, he's already banged up. Jalen's already not the same guy he was.
I know. 100% he's not the same guy. And that's my worry of like why I think people are looking for him to get better at the pro style offense, or at least, show improvement and being able to, work from the pocket. And he's shown some, but, nothing on a big level. And there's, John, the more videos that come out on him, it's not helping his case. I mean, there's a bunch of dudes doing film breakdowns, and everybody can believe what they want to believe, but it doesn't help as the case in terms of, showing that he's getting better in that regard. And then people you bring him up, Cam Newton, and RG3. I mean, how long does that style of quarterback last in this league? Not that long. So I think that's one of the other things that people factor in when talking about Jalen.
Well, I've always maintained with Jalen Hurts, and I've maintained this with any quarterback that has a mobility-based style. It just, the shelf life is not going to – they're not playing like to the level of Tom Brady in their 40s, all right? You know that going in. You don't try to turn them into Tom Brady. Take advantage of the shelf life they have. Take advantage of the shelf life they do have instead of trying to turn them into something that they're never going to be. That's where I am with that. Jaden Daniels, take advantage of the shelf life you do have if you're the Washington Commanders.
Yep, we'll see how it all works out with that. I just wonder if the league caught up to Jalen, and that's part of my concern with him. Remember, I mean, I'm an Eagles fan. I want this team to win. It's starting to look more and more bleak. With getting, we talk about getting back to the 22 form and getting back to the Super Bowl. Like right now, I watch the league. I don't see it with the Eagles. Now it's early in the year. They could turn it around. They got a 13-game run here.
Yeah, but man, people don't know. Who were they missing, Zander? Now, I have no problem.
I know, but that's
you have issues
with
the defense. Perfect. If you have issues with the defense, I have no problem. But again, so much of this league is dependent on attrition. And you got 2 undefeated teams right now. Guess what? You're already seeing it on one of them where we have, Aaron Jones is banged up. Sam Darnold got banged up. Kansas City in the past, and they've been able to persevere, and that's why they're Kansas City. And deservedly so as a dynasty team. Derek Carr for 2 weeks. How good are the Saints? Bunch of injuries on the offensive line. Bang. The Saints are one of the worst stinking teams in football all of a sudden. They can't do anything. They're signing people off a practice squad.
Yeah.
So much of this league is based on attrition. The Eagles, if you want to look for a silver lining, they had a bunch of attrition early. They're still at 500, and here come their 3 best players. Yeah, I am not worried about this team right now.
But the problem with that, John, is the overwhelming amount of NFL teams every single year. And if you pulled the data from the last 10, 20 years, 99% of them, I would say, don't make it to the end of the year with all their starters.
Well,
So
I'm
if
not
you're
saying
saying you're
that.
not,
I'm saying
no, I'm saying though, if we're saying that any of this adversity means we're going to stink on ice, we're in trouble. Everything's got to be perfect for this team to be good. And it's an uphill battle in the NFL.
It's 2-2. First of all, they're as I said, they're keeping their head even with the water without those guys. Yeah, we already saw it at the end of last season. Week 18, first quarter, AJ Brown knee injury, season over. Didn't know it
before that game, though. Come on, don't give me that. They sucked those last 7 weeks. That wasn't just a week 18 problem.
That now see that's again.
I know it got worse, but
well, did it get worse? I mean, I don't know, like what, and certainly I get it because of the perspective of how bad that collapse was. I don't know. Did people sleep through week 16 and week 17?
Yeah, but
Because
John,
they were at week 16 and week 17, they were a top 5 offense, top 5 points, top 5 yards,
John,
top
were they
5
1
everything.
6 in the last 7 games or not? They sucked, dude. They sucked.
But again, you're saying they sucked the entire time offensively. They sucked. Well, they got destroyed. It all started with San Francisco and Dallas. They got destroyed.
Yeah.
In those 2 particular games. Then the Seattle game sets up. They should have won that game. They lost that game. Jalen Hurts made a big mistake. We all know. Blah, blah, blah. Then they were off the charts good offensively of Giants and Cardinals. They beat the Giants, lost to the Cardinals in a shootout. Top 5 and everything. And then AJ got hurt in the first quarter and the season's over. Yeah, I don't care. You can say they were 1-6 at the end. Yeah, they were 1-6 at the end. All I'm saying is the fact that they were bad offensively the entire time is not factual. That's all I'm saying. It's not factual. I don't care if you believe it. It's not factual.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying from an offensive standpoint, they weren't bad.
Well, the defense was the far bigger problem.
Well, Big Smooth brings up a good point. I mean, we just watched Joe Burrow throw 5 touchdown passes and still lose. So you need a good defense. You're right about that, Big Smooth.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that part of this narrative is not factual. It isn't. But people, forget, which is fine.
Yeah, but is that, you always talk about how stats need context. Did that offense look the same to you after week 12 as it did?
No, they didn't look the same to me from the San Francisco game on. Because they got their.
But you're saying after that, they were still a top 5 offense.
Well, they were top 5. No, they were top 5 for a short window. Everybody was like they were consistently bad the rest of the season. No, they weren't. They had moments, which people forget, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, I think that San Francisco game, they got so outplayed and so destroyed. And remember, when we're talking about this team at 10-1 and the narrative of the most miserable 10-1 team in the history of the world, which was probably true. I don't know how you measure that. I always blame, everybody looks, and I still don't think the organization knows what went wrong. I believe, my personal belief is they collapsed under the weight of the expectations, which were outrageous and only got bigger when they were 10-1. And then San Francisco came in here on the road and absolutely decimated them. And it became clear this is not a Super Bowl team. And all of a sudden, the snowball starts rolling down the hill. That's my belief of what happened. No, that doesn't mean that's what happened. I don't think anybody could figure out the collapse as an entirety. And by the way, even if you look at, they had Seattle beat if there wasn't for a dumb decision by the quarterback and the best player on the team. They had that game. They were going to win that game. You never know. Ball can bounce a different way and you end up losing. It's the NFL. But I'm pretty confident they were going to win that game. They certainly should have beaten Arizona here. And it would have been interesting if you win Seattle, you beat the Giants, you beat the Cardinals, and AJ doesn't get hurt, and you beat the Giants again, you're basically winning 4 in a row to end the season.
That's a lot of ifs.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the NFL.
Yeah.
That's the NFL. 2017 game, stupid play by the quarterback and the receiver. 35-31 game, one score game, Arizona. Obviously, we know that was the Sidney Brown game as well, with the 99-yard interception return, which may have been the most exciting Eagles play of the season if they had won. And then obviously AJ gets hurt. It's like this. Oh, they got destroyed in 2 games. San Francisco, Dallas. So I think the assumption is
AJ Brown was out there for both of them.
Oh no. Well, guess what? San Francisco was much better.
Yeah.
And Dallas certainly at AT&T Stadium. Remember,
Dallas. You remember what Nick Bosa said after that game, John? I think that those words are still ringing in many's ears.
Well, yeah,
I know. Was he wrong though?
I don't. But my whole point is that got expanded to every game was like San Francisco and Dallas, and that
I'm
part
not saying
is not
that,
true.
but Jalen hasn't been the same guy since then. No.
Well, I mean, was Jalen playing that well when they were 10-1? I mean, when they were 10-1, everybody was complaining about the style points, and Jalen's not this, and Jalen's not that, and Jalen's
but
not.
You can't cherry pick that because you tell me all the time how he was the winningest quarterback in Eagles history in that stretch, and you used those 10 games.
Well, he still is. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying. So which? I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about this narrative of Jalen hasn't been the same since San Francisco. Well, he wasn't the same since the Super Bowl.
Well, that's fair.
Win or lose.
We talked about that yesterday.
Win or lose.
Since the contract that came after the Super Bowl.
Win or lose, he hasn't been the same player. From an effectiveness standpoint, just as an individual. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying,
says, did we not get stomped by the Giants backups? He's right about that.
Well, they got stomped. Yeah, look, the minute I've said this a million times, the minute AJ leaves the field, it's embarrassing. And I don't know why, other than I talk about all the time how great a player he is, but you have to persevere better than they are able to do when AJ Brown is not on the field.
It's amazing how much this team needs AJ Brown. I mean, the thing that concerns me is that you don't see that often, and it's just like
you never see it. That's my point.
That's why is this a setup for failure, Johnny Mac? Do you not see what I'm saying?
Like James is James Carver's bringing up AJ's the MVP because of how bad they are on the field. And he's not the MVP, but it sure looks like he is when he's not on the field. Like, I can't get why this team can't persevere better.
Isn't that on the quarterback? I'm not even trying to pick on the guy. I'm just look around when other teams lose.
I'll tell you what. I'd rather have you picking on the quarterback than all the other. Oh, it's Nick Sirianni's fault. It's his fault. Blah, blah, blah. Coaches aren't out there.
Well, I don't fall fully in the camp of Nick has no blame, but I do put it more on the players. I mean,
I'm not saying he has no blame.
Like, I don't think he's been a great coach right now. Here's where I think Nick struggles. I think Nick struggles when adversity hits. I don't think he fully, and this might be just a young coach learning on the job, and there's a learning curve. And we had Marcus Hayes on who gave a great explanation. Like, it takes time. Like, look at Andy Reid, right? It does take time for these young coaches. I don't think he handles the adversity well. Like, I don't think he knows how to get these dudes back on track. He was great when we were 27-2. But
he had a lot of adversity when they were 2-5, and he's getting raked
that's
over
fair.
the
That's fair.
coals
It's fair comeback there.
for the Blower thing, and people are throwing Blowers at him in Vegas. He handled that pretty well.
Philly cracks me up, John. This city
Yeah,
is hilarious.
I mean, I think he's an average NFL coach. I don't think he's a good NFL coach. I don't think he's a bad NFL
If he gets fired here in Philly, I think he's going to get another job.
Yes. Yes, he's still
He would
young
have to
enough.
be head coach, right? I mean, he kind of stripped himself as the whole offensive genius thing.
Yeah. He said, people outside of the city look at that record and go, what the hell's going on in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
You know,
Eventually, everybody's going to wake up to the fact that it's deeper than the coach or the quarterback, and maybe there's a problem with the guys upstairs. But anyway, we'll save all those conversations for another day. Johnny Mac, we're overtime, man. Great show today. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Got a good crowd still in here with us all the way through to the end. That's JAKIB Faithful, JAKIB Nation showing out. So appreciate each and every one of you guys in the chat. Hit that like button. I'm not sure what we got up to on the like count. But anyway, I do see everybody checking in right now. So thanks everybody for a great day of chats. I always appreciate all of you guys being in here, sharing your thoughts. Johnny Mac, great show today, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. All right, brother?
All right. Get off the bridges. Everything's fine. Cleveland is coming.
I don't know, John. That conversation has me riding right to the Ben Franklin after this show.
All right. Wait till this week. Then maybe head to the Ben Franklin.
Yeah, if they
lose that game, then you're in problem. Then
they lose this game. There's nothing you can say on this show that'll keep me away from that sucker.
That's a lot of pressure. That's adversity.
We talked about a pre-show. You're like, I wouldn't worry too much about this game this week, and I think you're right. That's the obvious way to look at it. But shit, this team has showed that they will shock us in more ways than one. So we'll see how it goes. John, great show, man. I'll catch you tomorrow, all right, brother?
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Hit that like button on your way out. Catch you guys tomorrow morning on Birds 365.